Hello everyone, I am Mr. Disturbing, and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. Listen, I've been hauling freight across these Appalachian highways for 23 years now. Tennessee, Kentucky, the Carolinas, you name it, I've driven it. And in all that time, I've seen some strange things. People walking barefoot on the shoulder 30 miles from nowhere. Deer standing dead center in the lanes like they want to be hit. Even had a guy once in Virginia who stood at the edge of a foggy hilltop with his arms outstretched like a scarecrow while my headlights washed over him. But I never saw anything like what happened that night near mile marker 109. And I swear on my rig and my ex-wife's grave that I don't drink, don't touch pills, and I've never once fallen asleep behind the wheel in my life. I know what I saw, or at least I know what I felt. And that's worse maybe, because there ain't no proof to what I'm about to tell you. It was just past 2 in the morning. I was hauling steel coil westbound, running late thanks to a blown axle back in Asheville. I was trying to make up time across a long, empty stretch of Route 64 when the fog started rolling in. Not soft and gentle like you see sometimes in the hollers, but thick and yellow-white, swallowing my high beams whole, sticking to the windshield like oil. The weird part was, it came in fast. Not gradually, just there all at once, like I'd driven into a wall of it. I remember thinking I should pull over, should stop and wait it out. But something about that road felt wrong to stop on, like it wouldn't still be there when I looked again. The road got real quiet. No tire whine, no CB chatter, nothing. Then I saw a little green exit sign through the mist, flickering in the fog light like it was underwater. It said there was a rest stop a quarter mile up, so I signaled and pulled off slow, half expecting it to be closed or chained up. But there it was, empty and dim lit. Just a couple yellow sodium lights buzzing over cracked asphalt. One busted vending machine glowing half dead by the bathrooms. I rolled through, circled wide to check my tires and stretch my legs when I saw her. This girl standing just past the concrete divider near the tree line, maybe 20 feet into the mist. Barefoot, hair plastered wet to her face, wearing a threadbare denim jacket and jeans soaked to the knees like she'd climbed out of a creek. I don't know why I stopped. I just did. Instinct, maybe. Or guilt. Or maybe it was the way she looked at me through that fog. Like she already knew me. Like I was expected. Before I could even think, I'd pulled up beside her and leaned over to pop the passenger door. She climbed in without a word. Just folded herself into the seat. Stared straight ahead. Didn't ask where I was going or tell me where she needed to be. Just said real quiet that she needed the next exit. And that was it. Now, I don't usually pick up hitchhikers. I've got enough sense not to. But something about her, I don't know how to explain it. She didn't seem dangerous, didn't seem right either, but not threatening. Just misplaced. Like she didn't quite belong in the world anymore. As we rolled back onto the highway, she didn't speak, didn't move, just kept both hands on her lap and stared out into the fog. I started to get this tight feeling in my chest, like a seatbelt pulled too tight. I tried to clear the air with a joke, said something stupid about hoping she liked old country music, but she didn't react at all. A mile or two later, just when I was thinking maybe she'd fallen asleep, she spoke. And I swear to God, this is exactly how she said it. "You still think about her?" I froze, because no one, not a soul out here, knew about June. Not even my dispatcher, not even the folks at the way stations. She passed 3 winters ago. Cancer. The slow kind. The cruel kind that steals a person piece by piece until all you're left with is a stranger who can't remember your name. I hadn't spoken her name aloud in months. But this girl she knew somehow, and she didn't stop there. She said June hated fog. The way she said it, almost smiling, almost gentle, like she was remembering it herself. It made my hands shake on the wheel. I looked at her full on for the first time. Her eyes looked older than her face, like they didn't match, like she'd seen too much. Just then I caught a sign, mile marker 109. It threw me because I'd just passed that same sign 15 minutes ago. I thought maybe I was losing track. Maybe the fog was playing tricks. But then, 5 minutes later, there it was again. 109. Same graffiti, same dent in the guardrail beside it. That's when my palms started to sweat, because I knew I wasn't circling back. I hadn't turned off the main road, hadn't missed a turn. I'd been driving straight west the whole time. And still, 109, again and again, like the road was repeating itself. The girl, still looking straight ahead, started to hum real low. Not a tune at first, just a sound. But then it started to fall into place, and I recognized it, slow and soft. It was the song June used to sing when she folded laundry. Then it hit me. It wasn't a song. It was a voicemail. The last one June ever left me. The one I never deleted, where she said she'd wait for me to come home. I nearly jerked the wheel off the road right then. But the girl never flinched, never stopped humming. When I finally glanced at her again, her mouth wasn't moving. I didn't say a word after that. Couldn't really. My throat was locked up like it didn't belong to me anymore. My foot just stayed on the pedal because I didn't know what else to do. Couldn't stop, couldn't pull over. Not out here where the fog had swallowed the trees, the road, the sky itself. Every instinct in my gut was screaming now. Not the kind that shouts in panic, but the quiet kind that whispers, "This is wrong." The kind that soldiers probably feel when the jungle goes quiet before an ambush. I realized I hadn't heard a single sound from outside the truck in what must have been 20 miles. No wind, no bugs, no engine hum even. Just this awful stillness pressing against the windows like the world was holding its breath. I kept stealing glances at her. This hitchhiker who wasn't breathing either, who didn't blink, who just stared dead ahead like she was waiting for something up the road. That was the worst part. The way she seemed expectant, like she knew exactly what was going to happen next. And me, I didn't. I had no idea. When I reached for the CB, hoping to hear another trucker's voice, some kind of anchor to pull me back, all I got was static at first. Then a burst of silence. Then my own voice. I swear to God, my own voice coming through the speaker saying, "Breaker 19, westbound hauling, empty through hell," just like I'd said earlier that night. Same words, same tone, like a damn recording. But I hadn't keyed up the mic, hadn't said anything out loud since she got in. I turned the volume down so fast my fingers slipped. When I looked up, the fog had thinned for a second, just enough to see ahead. What I saw made my stomach drop. The same damn broken-down Ford Taurus parked on the shoulder. Same cracked taillight, same empty driver's seat, just sitting there again like it had been copied and pasted down the road. As we passed it again, she finally turned to look at me. Her mouth moved this time, but the sound that came out wasn't a word. It was a knock. Not her speaking, but this low, hollow knocking, like someone tapping their fist on the underside of the cab from inside the damn truck. I whipped my head around, looked behind the seats, under the bunk, glove box, side panels. Nothing. Not a soul. When I turned back, we were coming up on mile marker 109 again. I felt this drop in my chest like the world had hit repeat. I slammed the brakes right there on the highway, tires skidding, metal shrieking, the whole rig shuddering to a stop across the shoulder. I jumped out, stumbled into the wet gravel, breathing hard, waiting for the cold air to snap me out of whatever this was. But it didn't. The fog was still there. The girl was still in the cab, watching me from behind the glass. But her face had changed somehow. Not physically, but emotionally. Like she wasn't pretending anymore. Like she'd taken off the mask of helplessness. Underneath was something ancient, patient, something that had seen 1,000 truckers like me. She didn't look scared. Not at all. She looked satisfied, like we'd finally arrived where she wanted me. I ran back to the driver's side door, ready to yank her out, ask her what the hell she was doing to me. But when I opened the cab, the seat was empty. Nothing but my old fleece jacket crumpled on the cushion, still zipped like I'd laid it there myself. There were wet barefoot prints across the floor mat, dark stains on the rubber. The worst part, the engine was still running, but the dash clock read 6:13 a.m., and the sun was coming up red through the fog. The GPS said I was parked at mile marker 109, exactly where I'd first picked her up. But my fuel was down a quarter tank, and the odometer showed 214 miles driven. All while I'd been sitting in the same spot. All while I thought I was moving. I didn't go back to the cab right away. Just stood there in the gravel, shaking, trying to remember something, anything that made sense. I checked the dash cam footage later that morning after I finally made it to the next truck stop, sat in that diner booth with my coffee untouched, and watched the recording over and over. You know what it showed? It showed me pulling into the rest stop, getting out, walking around the rig, checking my tires, then getting back in alone and driving off. No sign of her, no passenger door opening, no girl in the seat. No sound on the audio but my breathing and a faint staticky hum that rises right around the point I remember her asking about June. That hum. It matched the tone of the last voicemail my wife left me. Same pitch, same length. When I played the two back to back, I swear to God, the waveforms lined up like a signature. Like whoever, whatever was in my cab that night wanted me to know it wasn't just in my head. I haven't taken Route 64 since. Won't go near mile marker 109, not even in daylight, not even deadheading, because something waits there in the fog. Not to kill you. No, it's worse. It waits to use you, to ride with you, to crawl inside the part of your heart where all the grief lives. And once it's there, it stays quiet, patient, humming to itself while you lie awake in your sleeper cab and wait for the knock to come again. See, I figured it out eventually. Took me months of research, digging through old accident reports, talking to retired state troopers who'd worked that stretch of highway. Turns out there was a girl named Sarah Mills who went missing from that same rest stop back in 1987. 22 years old, car broke down in the fog, last seen asking passing truckers for a ride to the next exit. They found her car 3 days later, but never found her. The thing is, according to the reports, she'd been trying to get home to see her dying mother. Woman named June Mills, who passed that same week from cancer while Sarah was still missing. The family always believed Sarah died trying to get to her mother's bedside, that she never got to say goodbye. Now I think I know what happened that night. I think Sarah finally found her ride, 35 years too late. I think she's been waiting at that rest stop all this time, climbing into trucks driven by men who carry their own grief, their own guilt about the people they couldn't save. Men like me, who understand what it means to lose someone before you're ready. I think she was looking for someone who would remember her mother's name, someone who knew what that kind of loss felt like. And when she found me, when she heard June humming in my memories, she finally had what she needed to let go. The loop, the repeated mile marker, the missing time. I think that was her way of holding on to the moment, stretching out our time together because she knew once she got to that next exit, once she said goodbye, she'd have to move on. And maybe part of her didn't want to. But here's what really gets me, what keeps me up at night even now. I checked the weather reports for that night, cross-referenced them with traffic cameras along Route 64. There was no fog, not anywhere on that stretch of highway. The night was clear, visibility unlimited. Every other trucker who ran that route reported perfect conditions. The fog, the loop, the lost time, all of it happened inside something else, somewhere between the world of the living and whatever comes after. And for 7 hours, I was a passenger in my own truck while something else decided where we were going. I still drive these mountains, still haul freight through the hollers and ridgelines of Appalachia, but I've learned to recognize the signs now. When the fog rolls in too fast, when the CB goes quiet, when mile markers start repeating, I pull over. I wait it out. I don't pick up hitchhikers anymore, no matter how helpless they look, no matter how much they remind me of someone I used to know. Because I understand now that some people don't just die and disappear. Some of them get caught between worlds, between moments, and they'll use anyone they can to finish their journey. And if you're not careful, if you're carrying too much grief of your own, you might just find yourself riding along for a trip you never intended to take. Mile marker 109 is still there. Still marking that same stretch of Route 64 where the trees lean close and the fog rolls in without warning. But if you're ever driving through there late at night and you see a girl standing by the tree line, if she looks at you like she knows you, like she's been waiting, just keep driving, because some rides never really end. They just loop back on themselves, over and over, until someone else comes along to take your place. And trust me, you don't want to find out what happens when you become the one standing by the side of the road, waiting for the next trucker to stop. The worst part is knowing that somewhere out there, on some other foggy night, another driver is going to see those same flashing amber lights, that same rest stop that shouldn't exist. They're going to pull over, thinking they're doing the right thing, the human thing. And they're going to learn what I learned, that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is try to help someone who's already past helping. But maybe that's just the price we pay for living with regret, for carrying the weight of all the people we couldn't save. Maybe Sarah Mills was just the first, and now I'm marked somehow, flagged in whatever system keeps track of the guilt we carry. Maybe next time it won't be her standing by the tree line. Maybe next time it'll be June. I pray to God I never find out, but I keep driving these roads anyway, because this is what I know, this is who I am. A trucker running freight through the mountains, trying not to think about the passengers I can't see, the voices I can't quite hear, and the mile markers that count down to destinations I never chose. And sometimes, late at night when the world gets quiet and the road stretches out empty ahead of me, I swear I can still hear her humming. Not the song June used to sing, but something else now. Something that sounds like goodbye. Something that sounds like forgiveness. Something that sounds like she finally made it home. I've been running freight through eastern Kentucky since the 90s, back before GPS units chirped every mile. Never needed digital help. Always figured if the map in your glove box and your own eyes weren't enough, maybe you weren't meant to drive. But that night, somewhere past Pine Mountain, hauling industrial cable toward Winchester, I let that damn GPS convince me otherwise. It started with a blinking highway sign flashing yellow across the empty blacktop. Around 1:47 a.m., digital detour warning, Route 23 closed ahead, landslide risk, follow detour. I'd been on that stretch enough times to know it wasn't terrain to second-guess a slide notice, so I slowed up and took the marked exit like the machine told me to, even though I couldn't see another soul on the road. The new route snaked tight along the ridge base. Pavement narrowed by sloping shoulders and gravel patches where the road had eroded clean off. No guardrails, just tree trunks pressing close like prison bars. I flicked the high beams on and killed the radio. Didn't feel right having music in a place that felt like it hadn't seen man or machine in 20 years. After 6 winding miles, I passed an old church, or what was left of one, sagging under its own roof, wooden siding curled like burnt paper, and a crooked sign stuck in front read, "Mercy is coming" in black paint that had run like tears. That was the first real wrong moment, not just eerie, but off, like the building didn't want to be seen. Another mile, and I rounded a curve. There it was again. Same church, same leaning steeple, same broken bell in the yard, like I hadn't moved at all. My GPS screen was frozen, hadn't updated since the turnoff. I tapped it, reset the unit. Nothing. I pulled out my paper map, but the road I was on didn't exist. No name, no route number, just blank space between creases. The air started feeling thicker inside the cab, like altitude had shifted even though the engine wasn't laboring. No cell signal, no CB either, just high hiss like someone breathing into a mic too close. I checked the clock, 2:23 a.m., fuel down more than it should have been. I saw a narrow bridge ahead, rusted steel crossing a shallow creek, water glinting like oil under the lights. Something in me wanted to stop, not from fear, but strange certainty that if I crossed, I wouldn't come back the same. But I did anyway. Tires thumped across the boards. The moment I hit the other side, the forest changed, darker somehow, like even the leaves were watching. Another turn, the church again. Same angle, same sign. Only this time, the bell was missing. Just a gap where it should have hung. Right then, I felt it. Not heard, but felt. Something knocking gently on the sleeper cab's back door. 1, 2, 3 taps. Like a child asking to be let in. I didn't stop driving, didn't turn around, just gripped the wheel tighter because some part of me knew if I looked in the mirrors, I'd see something that hadn't been there when I left the warehouse. Looking at the roadside, I saw my own tire tracks already there, heading forward, like I'd been here before, like I was chasing myself down a road that didn't want to end. The way it curled back into itself, the way trees leaned inward like closing ranks. It felt like the world outside had folded behind me, like forward was the only way left, even if forward meant deeper into this pocket of nowhere. I kept going because in that moment, I wasn't sure there was anything to turn around to. When I couldn't take it anymore, I pulled onto gravel beside a rotting fence post, climbed out with my flashlight to walk back far enough to prove I wasn't going in circles. The air out there didn't feel right, not cold, not warm, just wrong. Still and waiting like it was listening. As I crunched over wet gravel, I started hearing my own footsteps out of sync, like something walked just behind me, not copying but delaying. When I spun around with the light, nothing but fog pressing in low and heavy. I turned back toward the truck. It was gone. No engine glow, no tail lights, no tire marks, just empty road. Then I heard it, distant and muted. My own engine idling somewhere deeper in the woods, off to the left beyond the trees, like someone had driven it there. I pushed through branches, slipping in mud, scraping my arms. Every step made my vision tilt like depth perception was unraveling. After 5 minutes of stumbling, I reached a clearing. There was my truck, headlights on, cab light glowing, parked in front of that same church. Except now it looked rebuilt, freshly painted, windows intact. The cab door was open, engine humming. When I reached it, the CB mic hung off the hook, swaying like it had just been dropped. Then I heard my own voice crackling through static. "Red Dog, do you copy? You're almost there. Just a little further, buddy. Almost time." That's when I saw something move in the sleeper bunk, a shape shifting under the curtain. I stepped back and slammed the door shut, but the voice kept coming through the radio. Calm, friendly, my voice. "Don't worry, you'll get used to it. We all do eventually." I didn't climb back in. I don't remember walking away. Next thing I knew, I was sitting on the church steps at dawn, hands bleeding, clothes soaked. No sign of the truck, no bridge, no road. Just old stone foundation and a fire pit full of black ash. When I flagged down a local 3 miles up the way, he looked at me like I was a ghost. "That loop's been closed since '02. Landslide wiped it clean off. Ain't been a road there in 20 years. Some nights when I leave the CB on while parked at lonesome truck stops, I still hear my voice break through static, asking if anyone's seen Red Dog, saying I'm still on the road, still trying to find a way out, still following my own damn tracks." I've been running freight through the Blue Ridge for 15 years, and I know every way station from Virginia to Tennessee. But Station 66 isn't on any map, and after what happened there last month, I understand why the DOT pretends it doesn't exist. It was past 2 in the morning when I hit that stretch of Route 129 where the mountains press close and the fog rolls thick as cotton. I was hauling auto parts to Knoxville, making good time despite the weather, when those amber lights started flashing through the mist ahead. The blue sign read, "Way station ahead. All commercial vehicles must exit when flashing," and I'd never seen it before, but the lights were definitely flashing. The off-ramp dipped sharply into a clearing I didn't know existed, surrounded by pine trees so dense the fog couldn't penetrate between them. The station itself was a squat, concrete building painted government gray, lit only by a single buzzing fluorescent over what looked like a garage bay. 2 men in crisp dot uniforms stood outside like they'd been waiting specifically for me. I rolled down my window and handed over my logbook before they even asked, but they barely glanced at it. The taller one had this flat, emotionless voice when he asked how long I'd been on this particular route. Not where I was coming from or what I was hauling, but how long on this route, like the time mattered more than anything else. They directed me to park in Bay 2 and follow them inside, where the walls smelled like mildew and the lights flickered like a dying generator. In a back office with a dusty CRT monitor, they told me they were going to show me what my dash cam had recorded. Now I check my dash cam weekly, clean feeds, never had a problem. But what came up on their screen wasn't my route at all. It showed my truck, same Kenworth, same decals, same timestamp. But the scenery was completely wrong. Flat farmland instead of mountains, road signs and fonts I'd never seen, houses with windows blazing like it was noon inside while everything outside stayed pitch black. About 20 seconds in, the footage showed me pulling into a gas station, with a crooked American flag taped in the window, stepping out of my cab and handing a manila envelope to someone just off camera. When I told them I'd never been to that place, never carried any envelope, they said I wasn't cleared to view classified retention segments. That's when I looked at the wall clock and realized it read 4:13 a.m., meaning I'd been in that station for over 3 hours, even though my watch still showed 1:02. I went back to my cab and found my seat pushed back, my CB mic unhooked, and my coffee stone cold like someone else had been drinking it. I got out of there fast, not looking back, and somehow found myself pulling into the Knoxville depot at dawn, 2 hours late. The receiver said my logs looked clean except for one thing. A 2-hour GPS dead zone showing me parked in a town called Fielding Hollow that doesn't exist on any map. My dashcam file was corrupted except for one blurry frame from 2:06 a.m. showing something hunched in my passenger seat with my own name written backward on the windshield, like it had been traced in condensation from the inside. 3 weeks later, I drove back to that same stretch of 129, heart pounding, half expecting to see those flashing lights again. But there was nothing, no sign, no ramp, just trees and an embankment where the station road had supposedly been. At a diner in Robbinsville, an old cook told me about Station 66, said it burned down in 2011 and the feds cleared the site, claimed it never officially existed. I replaced my entire dash cam system after that, but it still records footage I don't remember driving. Different roads, unmarked highways, sometimes showing me behind the wheel of my old cab from years ago, smiling at something in the passenger seat I can't quite see. And my CB picks up a voice full of static every few weeks, always asking the same question about where someone called Gravedigger is. And no matter how fast I kill the power, it comes back the next time I start the engine. I don't answer it anymore. I drive silent now because once they show you a version of yourself you don't remember being, they keep showing you more until one night you might pull into your own sleeper cab and find yourself already waiting inside.